There's definitely a delay. Okay, let me just make sure that this is not on. Okay. So everybody, bear with me here. I haven't done this in a long time. I'm just making sure that this isn't broadcasting. I don't want it to be broadcasting. Alright, so to give you some kind of context, I should probably talk while this is playing, right? Or the whole beginning is going to be silly, and you'll probably stop watching. So, alright, I'm live streaming, but I don't want to actually be live streaming. I'm just trying to streamline the process of getting video uploaded onto YouTube so that I could share it on Patreon and YouTube as fast as possible without editing. I'm kind of, well, I'll explain as time goes on, but I'm just trying very hard to not have to edit anything anymore. I'll reserve my editing and my, more bombastic, entertaining kind of videos for, oh wow, I just lost 2 subscribers in a matter of minutes. Not because of this. I don't know. My subscriber base has been going up and down quite a bit. It's going steadily up, but I lose a lot of people. I think I'm going to lose a lot of people now that I've announced that I quit the stop motion project. I've received several emails, angry emails from people in the past saying like, hey, I'm only subscribed to you because you do the stop motion stuff. You haven't done the stop motion stuff in a while, so just letting you know that if you don't make a video about it soon, I'm going to unsubscribe. It's like, okay, go right ahead, That's your prerogative. This is all free anyway, so it's not like you're paying for a service or something. I don't know. People are fun and interesting. So, okay. Get some coffee. Alright, it's looking like everything is going as planned. This is not public. It's not even in my list of videos so far. Let's see, I'm checking in my list up here. Yeah, it's not even showing up here as if it's like recording or something. But it says that I'm live. So I'm assuming this is actually working. Alright. Hopefully this is working, and if not, then oh well. It'll be a nice first run, and we'll just go from there. Okay, so I'm going to shut my monitor off now. So, alright. Why am I doing this? Well, okay. Let me set up what I'm doing here first so that you're not just bored out of your mind wondering when this is going to get good. I'm just doing my warm-ups right now. This is literally the start of my day. And for the past, let's see, I got a whole binder full of them. Let's see. I'm on day 30 something, I'm sure. 32. Okay, I'm on day 33. I'm actually a little further on, but I've also been doing, when I don't feel like doing this or when I haven't had time to do my warm-ups in this binder, I've been doing them in my sketchbook, which is, you've probably seen some of the stuff, like these Joker studies that I did. Those were, essentially this warm-up, but just a little more fun, because I gotta break it up sometimes, But, yeah, so basically for the past, let's just say about a month, every single day, no matter what, I am doing these warm-ups, which is freehand lines. So I take my ruler, and I tick off all the measurements an inch apart, on each side. So I got these 1-inch boxes all over these pages. I tick down the side of the page, and then I take away the ruler, and then I freehand that stuff. Hang on, somebody's oh yeah, yeah. It looks like some people are seeing the stop motion hiatus video for the first time. I got some comments from Creed and Marshall. What's up, guys? Thank you very much for your support and encouragement. It is tough. They were talking about the stop motion project, which I'll get to that in a little bit. It's been really tough. It's been so tough that's actually the reason I'm doing these videos now, because I need like a bit of levity in my day. Not just like humor, but something to pick my spirits up, and communicating with all of you and interacting like this, and sharing what I'm up to and what I'm really excited about. That fulfills me. That's it's a good thing for me. And right now I've been so down about this other thing that I had to stop doing, that has so many layers of pain and frustration. That it's making it hard to do the things that I love to do. But regardless, I'm still getting my stuff done. So anyways, let's get back to this. So the warm-ups. Okay. So I take the ruler, measure out 1 inches across and 1 inches this way, and then I take my pencil and I freehand it. I freehand the lines. I go as slow as I need to go or as quick as I need to go. Little trick that my old teacher taught me. He taught multiple classes, but he always said, draw 2 dots, and then look at where you want to go. And now I'm a little off. There's a little space between there, but I'm a lot closer and a lot straighter of a line than I would have been if I'm like looking at the pencil the whole time, just like trying to keep it straight. And I think that's what most people do when they try to do straight lines, is they look at the pencil and try to it's like they're using the force, like to will it to be steady, when the better option is just create your 2 points, have your eye, just train your eye on the point you're trying to get to, and get to there. Now again, I'm a little bit off, but that line is straight, and it's a lot closer to that point than I would have gotten. But yeah, so that's the general practice, okay? And so I've been doing that in a whole grid, and I'm telling you, I'm getting better and better and better. I mean, some of these are really straight. So the proof is in the practice. It works. It really works. So what I do to check out my progress is I use the ruler afterwards, and I'll run it across the page to check how straight the lines are. And it's been really cool, because that's actually showing me that, on the days when I'm, really close, and on the days when I'm really off. And like today, I don't know how well you can see. I'm going to have to work on the lighting and stuff, so I'm really sorry, guys, if you're having trouble seeing. Let me try and turn this other light. I'll see if that helps. That might be a little bit better. It's going to blind me a little bit, but that's okay. I'm already going blind, I'm pretty sure. I got a new prescription for my glasses, and they're just getting thicker and thicker. But anyways, I don't mind. As long as I can draw, that's cool. And I'm nearsighted too, so I could even just take my glasses off and then just get like really close to the page, like about like right here. Boom. And then I got super clear vision. Might be too close. Alright, getting silly. It's been a while since I've done this, and I'm talking to myself. That naturally you're going to be a little bit crazy if you're talking to yourself. So, alright, straight lines, in a grid. Boop, 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 boop. Long ways. Boop, 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 boop. The long ways are so much harder. But I find that, to get in the rhythm and to get the most out of it, I kind of go back and forth a little bit, and I check to see how close I am to that point when I get to the end. Now, I'm not touching the paper at that point. I'm just going from here to there, and I'm seeing where I end up, you know. So from there to there, oh, that one was good. There to there, that's good, 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 good. And then I'll start hitting the pencil down and laying down that line. And sometimes I got to go back and forth a little bit, I admit, but it's a good practice. I think being able to draw straight lines by hand is a good thing to learn, especially if you're going to freehand perspective, which is one of the main things that I've been studying lately. So I guess I'm just going to kind of tell you guys a little bit about what I've been up to, and I'll just do a little update before I really dive into my warm-ups. I guess I'll consider this my part 2 for the hiatus update and the stop motion update. So this will be a longer one, just to let you know. It's probably already at least, what, like 10 minutes in? Probably going to be a long one. I'm going to catch you up on everything that's been going on, and then I'm going to get to work. So I'm really trying to drive home stuff that I'm bad at, stuff that I really need to work on. And for me, I know a lot of people, I talked to a lot of people before I did this, and they kind of discouraged going back to the fundamentals, but I'm a firm believer that at some point you have to trust your gut, you have to trust yourself, and as long as you're not being self-destructive, usually your gut's right, okay? And my gut is telling me that I never took enough time with the fundamentals to have a really firm grasp on them, and enough of a firm grasp to get what I want out of my art. Now, I guess I don't want to sound arrogant, and I'm not meaning to sound arrogant at all, but it may come off that way depending on, I don't know, whatever. The point that I'm trying to make is that I excelled at art very early, when I was very, very young. And that's because that's all that I ever did. That's all I ever wanted to do. That's all I ever did. So a lot of these fundamentals I took for granted because I sort of intuited them, you know? It wasn't anything that I ever felt I had to spend a whole lot of time on. However, as time went on, I started noticing some distortions in my work, and the root of those distortions was not having a solid enough foundation of the fundamentals. So that's what I've been practicing lately, and that's what I'm really trying to master, honestly, in as short of time as possible, you know, because obviously I don't want to spend forever, but I understand that everything is a journey. I understand that. That's nothing that ever needed to be explained to me. But I'm hoping that since I do have some experience under my belt, that I can get this stuff, you know, solidified in my brain quicker. Now that I'm older, now that I have more experience drawing, now that I already have kind of an intuitive way of doing a lot of these things, hopefully some of this stuff clicks. And when it clicks, I hope it clicks for good. That's kind of the point that I'm trying to make. So, anyways, without further ado, back to straight lines. Perspective. When I was working on Julie Jupiter, this was one of the main things that stood out to me that was in my way, was perspective. I know it. I know how to use it. I know 1 point. I know 2 point. I know 3 point. I even know 4 point. But I don't use it enough. I always shy away from it. I'm always freehanding my perspective. And when people critique my work or they look at something that I freehanded, that's the main thing that stands out constantly, is that the perspective is whack. So in order to do stuff correctly, I need to start doing more perspective. As odd as it sounds, I feel like there's a direct correlation between drawing things like buildings and cars and parking meters and whatever, and being able to draw the figure in perspective. It's all the same. It's all forms, right? So anyways, I've been going through this book. I'm not very far along yet at all. I'm on page 30, okay? Out of an entire month, I'm only on page 30. But here's why, okay? I'm not going to go and flip through this whole book. I'll save that for another day. I just wanted to show you that's the resource that I've been using. But the way that I've been studying, all right, is like this. I'm going to bring this over here. And actually, I'm going to move my warm-up sheet now because that's just going to be in the way for the time being. I've been studying like this. Now this all, let's see if we can get to the start here. This is all stuff from the book and some stuff from previous attempts. This was an old train. This is pretty much where I left off. Let me flip this around. this is where I left off on perspective in, I want to say 2013, 2012 it says. Okay, so I pretty much gave up trying to put a figure into perspective. Obviously, I was overcomplicating the hell out of it. All these boxes and stuff were an attempt to understand. It was not helping me understand any better at all. So that's that. I attempted this train. This was one of the most complicated things that I've ever attempted before, and it wasn't based off of any picture, but I gathered a bunch of reference for, side views of, cool looking locomotives and stuff. I got some of these pictures of, again, these were just for reference. I wasn't trying to replicate any of this stuff, but just to see some cool details and figure out what the hell a train looks like, And I didn't finish it, but looking at it now, I feel like maybe I should have. It wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was, but it's very dirty. I mean, to get it to this point, I really screwed up the paper and got a bunch of crap on it. So, anyways, that's where I left off on perspective, and I pretty much never went back. And I feel like looking at that, I feel like I was just starting to grasp it, So what I've been doing to make it engaging, a little fun, a little interesting, is I've been going through that book page by page by page. And whenever there's a concept that I need to understand, I illustrate it myself. Okay, so a lot of the times I'm copying some stuff from the book, but I'm trying to distill it down into words that make the most sense to me. So, for example, he introduced this concept called the zenith and the nadir. I'd never heard those terms before, and they were really hard to understand for me. But upon thinking about it, analyzing it, looking into it in other resources, I came to a conclusion as to how it made sense to me and explained it that way versus the way that he explained it in the book. In most cases, I am kind of copying some of the illustrations that he has in the book because they all have to deal with perspective and it's more drawing. So I'm not just reading a book and I'm not just doing exercises. I'm having fun because I like drawing, So for me to redraw the stuff that I see in the book, it makes it fun. It makes it interesting. Now I'm not trying to produce this into my own book or anything like that. These are just notes, and these help. And there's scientific evidence that says that when you write something, like when you're actually taking notes about something that you're learning, and you're handwriting it, you're ingraining that information more. You're more likely to retain that information. So I figure the same applies to drawing as well. So anyways, I'm not going to explain what all the pictures are. You should check out the book. It's an awesome book. But I've been going through page by page. This one's upside down. And just drawing, trying to understand the concepts, trying to absorb everything that I'm seeing and actually do it myself so that I can feel what it's like to do it. I mean, you look at something like this example in his book where it's a bunch of squares or a bunch of cubes laid on top of each other, and you look at it and you go, yeah, I get it, great. But you go to do it and you realize, wow, there's some complications here. There's some things here that you really need to be paying attention to when drawing it. It's one thing to look at it and to understand it, but then to draw it, it's a whole different thing, especially if you're trying to get it to look exactly the way that it looks in that book. It's a process. It requires problem solving and critical thinking that if you're not drawing it, you're not getting that part out of it, and then you get other fun little lessons along the way too, like not doing proper proportions for your person and screwing up an example like I did here. But it all worked out for the best. So all of these were illustrations in the book that were examples, and I did my best to recreate them. Some are more complicated than others, but it was all pretty fun. And then I made a rule for myself that any illustration in the book I have to draw. And that means even like the complicated, finished, polished art, because all of that is examples of what you should be able to do with the concepts that you're learning. So now these are the very simplest in the book so far, but they were still challenging, especially this. And in this, I learned that I actually had to take some shortcuts. Let me adjust the camera a little bit here. I learned doing these that I had to take some shortcuts to accomplish this. I'm sure that there was some kind of math or geometry that I could have used to get some of these angles a little bit better. I discovered that he most likely used a triangle and just used the angle that the triangle gives you, which I believe is 45 degrees. So I was able to lay this down, and you'll see that that actually matches up with all the lines here. You see? So that made that super easy, except for this. This one, not the same. Um, I also learned a lot about keeping your paper straight and making sure that you line everything up with your rulers and your guides ahead of time, or it turns into a royal pain in the ass. I had to tilt the page just a little bit. It was like that much. You probably couldn't even see that on camera. That's how little I had to tilt it. But it's because, well, I don't know. This was not quite straight. Since then, I've straightened this board out. But anyways, yeah. So just recreating the images, it's one thing to look at it and go, oh yeah, I could do that, and it's a whole other thing to actually do that. So here's another page. I had to chop this one up, and I made a little note for myself that I made a recreation of this. It's just different. So here's the pencils for it. I'm sure if you've been following my stuff, you've seen some pictures of this online. It's probably tough to see. I'll throw up the darker printed version. Put this aside for a second. This was a city scene, like a parking lot and like a couple shops. There we go. Hopefully you could see that. And I put my own twist on it. I tried to recreate it exactly as it is and then put my own twist on it. And so my twist was adding in this crazy eyeball tentacle monster, and instead of having the people just kind of casually walking around, I have them running away, and I have this one oblivious guy. He really stood out to me in the original illustration, so I wanted to make him a focal point for what's happening here. I didn't want to just throw the monster in. I wanted to kind of make it work. And I changed the names of the signs and stuff. So we got things and stuff, we've got stuff and things, and we got the inconvenience store, open 24 hours a year. So, and this was really fun. I still have this that I still need to ink, and the only reason that I haven't inked this yet is quite honestly because I haven't been managing my time very well. And the important thing for me is to stick to my routine every single day. I gotta do my warm-ups, I gotta do my gestures, my gesture drawings, I gotta do my homework for some of the classes that I'm taking, and if I can only fit all of that into the day, then that's it. But I have to. Now I know it's possible to fit more than that into my day, but so much has been going on lately. It's really just rocked my world. We've got a really bad leak in our house. In fact, that reminds me, I need to go and check that because it was raining today. And so we've had maintenance in and out and people coming to inspect that, and I've had to completely, rearrange the entire house for them to be able to take care of it because it's not just in one area, it's all over the place. So moving furniture and essentially packing up as if we're going to move over and over again because they come, they do the work, and then they leave for like a week, and we got to get back to normal, but then we got to pack it all up again so that they could come back and do work. In addition to that, obviously quitting the stop motion, I've had so much work to do packing up all of that stuff and getting it ready to put into storage or to sell. I've got just materials upon materials upon materials for that project. It was taking up, several square feet. A lot of space for that project. So, anyways, I'll get into all that eventually. That's why I haven't inked this yet. There just hasn't been an opportunity yet to sit down and do this because as far as my career goes, I think I'm more of a penciler than anything else. And so as long as I've got pencils done on stuff, I'm saying to myself, hey man, you did your job. Move on and do it again. Inking is kind of like icing on the cake for me. I'm trying to ink more because I don't think I'm a great inker, and inking is very new to me. But if I can't get to the inking, that's okay. As long as I get to more penciling, more and more and more and more penciling. I got to get better at penciling. That's the goal. That's the key. So So, all right, one last little thing for that piece is I had to figure out some stuff on tracing paper, as you could see here. So I kind of I don't know if you could see through here, but I have like a kind of a compositional shape behind him, and I laid that down, the tracing paper down on this page to sort of figure out where I wanted my creature to be and where I needed his tentacles to show up to have the best effect, and yeah, it was pretty fun. This whole thing took 5 hours, which I don't think is that bad actually. Its size is 11 by 6, I believe. So if you think about that, it's or no, it's not 11 by 6. I think it's 11 by 5. At any rate, it is approximately like a third of a comic page, okay, and of a standard 11 by 17 comic page. A little bit more actually width-wise. But if I could do that in 5 hours, and that's all complicated perspective, right? So that's like a biggest opening shot. That's like an establishing shot at the top of the page or something. If I could do that in 5 hours, then that means that I can do the rest of the page feasibly in less than 10 hours, right? Because it's obviously it takes me a lot more time to do all this perspective and all this crazy detail and stuff like that. But if it only took 5 hours to do that, then realistically I should be able to do the other 2/3 in less than 10 hours. And I think that would add up to, hopefully roughly at most 12 hours of work, which is about all that's ever expected of any comic artist that I've ever heard of, outside of like Jack Kirby, who, I think he did like 3 pages a day, 3 or 4 pages a day some days. That's insane. But any other comic artist, the norm tends to be about a page a day, and they tend to work about 12 hours a day. So all right, that's that. Let's see, where is my okay. We have, in addition to that, I am taking a class on schoolism.com, all right? And I have some random head studies. I wanted to start like a whole head study thing, and it just hasn't kicked off for me yet. I'll get there. So I started a class on gesture drawing on schoolism.com because I just wanted to do gestures, and I thought it would be more fun if I did it in a class setting as opposed to doing it on my own, because I do it on my own, but then I get bored and I put it off. So that's what I've been doing, and it's introduced me to some concepts that I haven't thought of before too. Not a ton, but it's reminding me of stuff that I once knew, that I learned in college or that I picked up afterwards, that, after several years of just going on your own, you kind of start to forget. It's reminded me of a lot of stuff like that. So these were studies for line of action. I know it probably doesn't look like much because it's literally just lines. And this guy in particular, Alex Wu, really, really emphasizes abstraction. I mean, to the extreme. Whereas teachers in the past that I've had have taught this stuff in a way that it's more of a suggestion, more of something to try to incorporate into the process, not necessarily to be so strict about the using the tool as an art itself. Which was frustrating, I'll say, at first, but also kind of exciting once I got into it and I started doing it more. And it ended up being kind of fun. But my only problem is that, and this isn't, well, I guess it's a critique, but it's a lighthearted critique. It isn't like an admonishment of the school or anything. But his teaching style, like any artist, he gets wrapped up in what he's doing. And while he's doing his lectures and he's doing these exercises with you, I hardly ever pay attention to what he's doing because I'm trying to learn myself and draw off of the model and do what I got to do. And then I'll go back and I'll watch the video again and I'll compare what he did with what I did and kind of take notes and see if I agree with what he said or if I don't agree or whatever. And whatever I discover, I'll make little changes, or little notes. Obviously, I got notes all over the place on these pages. So, hang on a second, I got an itch and this is driving me nuts. Okay. It's like, I don't know, the headphones were making me itch. So line of action, right? So he gets kind of caught up in his work, and he'll start adding in more lines, and he'll be a lot more expressive, and and then he'll go and critique other people later and criticize them for adding in more lines, and I'm like, but you are too, like teach by example. So that's the only thing that's been kind of frustrating in terms of like really trying to learn these concepts as he's teaching them, like um, I take line of action kind of very loosely. Like I try to define the line of action, but I also think about the movement and the motion of the figure as a whole all the time. That's like, if there's one thing that I could say is actually maybe like uh, a value that I bring to the table with my art is I have always thought about line of action before I even knew what it was. Um, I knew there's energy to a figure, and I try to capture it. If it takes more than one line to do that, then so be it. It's still abstraction though. So anyways, I don't want to get into a whole lecture about gesture drawing and line of action and stuff, but these are some of my gestures for line of action. I really like some of these, and I actually wouldn't mind going back through them and like trying to create figures on top of them someday. I may scan them and print them out again, but I need to get some blue ink before I can do that. So this was fun. We had to do homework, and so for this I was picking He-Man for my homework. I have a bunch of He-Man books, like a bunch, and the homework was to go and do like 10 gestures from an art book, a movie, or a number of different things. And so I've got this. Make sure that nothing's gonna fall here. Yeah, I got this for Christmas this year, and I love He-Man. I'm not even going to get started. If you've watched my videos, then you already know that. But this is an amazing book. I mean, it's got the art from the beginning of time all the way back through to, current stuff like the Motu Classics, where they did a special edition Stan Lee. All the way through to the new comics and stuff. I mean, it's an amazing, amazing, amazing book. And I don't know if a lot of people know this. I think a lot of people that like He-Man know this. But when they were trying to get this thing going, um, they had some of the best artists working on this stuff. Like they were not pulling any punches, and this whole sci-fi barbarian thing was crazy popular. This was not as weird as a lot of people make it out to be. At this time, this was hot. This was fidget spinners of the 80s. Everyone wanted one. Everyone loved it. No question. The whole, you know, ironic kind of silliness that it's kind of attracted over the years is just so sad to me because it was an amazing thing at the time and still is today, honestly. Anyways, I'm not going to get on a He-Man rant. I love He-Man. Anyways, so part of our homework was to copy stuff from things that we like. So I've always loved this painting here. This was something that I actually have a huge poster of this somewhere, or maybe I did before. I don't think I have it anymore. But this guy did so many different paintings for He-Man, and this was always one of my favorite things. This was for the movie, the live-action movie. And so for one of my gesture studies, I recreated it, but in a pen sketch. And I took some liberties to do it in my own kind of style. So it's not 100% like the painting. But I like how it turned out, and honestly, after all this line of action homework, it really helped to get the pose and the feeling and the life of it like right away. It wasn't something that I had to really work at. That thing came out pretty quickly. Let me just put this book back here. Oop. So anyways, it was pretty fun. So we got some more stuff there. Then we moved on to, I thought I had some more finished stuff for that. It's been a while, so I don't remember. Oh yeah, I took some notes too about exactly what kind of emotion or what kind of element I was trying to capture in each of these, what I felt was like the main point of all of them. So This one, power swing. So I had to really show that it's a swinging action happening. This one was fear. This was Skeletor and He-Man and some other people are coming up on him. So I wrote fear, and I noted what made it look like fear. It was very tight, very constricted, a lot of bunching in the line of action. This one was a twist, an arc, overextended, a stretch, weight bearing. Yeah, there's all kinds of fun stuff. I'd love to do a whole video on gesture, to be honest. There's a lot of things that I've learned over the years that I think really apply, and they kind of work every time. So anyways, I had some more homework to do, and I actually had to redo my homework because I was looking at all the lectures from the class that he was giving to other people, and when I was taking notes and looking at mine, I was like, man, I guess I didn't really do the homework. But this was another example where I felt like I did fine, but it wasn't that abstract, single line that he was talking about. But again, when he was doing the examples, he wasn't using a single line either, so I don't take all the blame for it. But nonetheless, I still did it again, did the homework again to make sure that I was doing the right thing. So this was a blast. These are my Batman studies from Court of Owls. Actually, no, this was Death of the Family. So I've got Jim Gordon, Robin, Nightwing, Red Hood, Joker with his face ripped off, a defeated Batman, lots of Joker. Lots of Joker. And of course, this is one of my favorites, Greg Capullo, who is just a phenomenal artist. And I mean, in my opinion, there's not many better to learn from if you're looking for expressive figures. He was very inspired by Chuck Jones, and I think you can see that in his work. He has a very clear understanding of movement and animation. I mean, all of his figures move and live and breathe on the page. So he seemed to be a perfect artist to study for this kind of exercise. So anyways, I actually went and drew all the figures in pencil over the lines of action, just so that for my own personal reference I could know what it was that these things came from, because just drawing the line, I have no idea what it was. A few months from now I won't know what poses I was looking at. So that wasn't part of the homework, but I felt it was a good thing to do. So then we moved on to shape. Lots of stuff on shape. I'm going to kind of speed it up a little bit here. So then for shape, I went back to Batman again because I love Batman. And honestly, Capullo's, he's a master of shape as well. If you listen to a lot of his interviews, he's constantly talking about shape, and he's constantly talking about composition and some pretty deep stuff. I mean, that man is an artist through and through. So, and sure enough, the what I looked at his book for, I found just excellent use of shape and form, and man, so I found all kinds of cool stuff: triangle shapes, rectangle shapes, octagons, this strange shape, but that was a really powerful image of Batman. This crazy zigzag, oh man, that's so awesome. This, so yeah, that was some fun homework. And then we have a bunch of life drawing studies once again for shape. I was using Croquis Cafe for my homework here. We're supposed to go and actually sit in a real cafe, but I can't explain it enough. I don't have a car, and the town that I live in has nowhere for me to go to sit at a cafe like that. It's not that kind of place. And even though there are cafes, I could get an Uber and pay $5 and go to the Starbucks that's a couple miles away from where I live. I could go there. There won't be anyone to draw. Like, I get I get a lot of flack sometimes when I say that in different art groups or when people are trying to help me and they say, oh, you got to get to a cafe. I don't have access to one. The best I could do is to go to a library where there's about 5 people at a time reading. So I could draw people reading, but as for like actually being out and about and doing things, the next best thing would be to maybe go to the park, to the gazebo, and sit there and wait for a single person to pass every 15 minutes. I mean, that is just not a viable option for me. So I have, however, been getting out to the city. And I'm going to go once a month. I'm actually due to go soon. It's looking like next week, probably next week Thursday, actually. Damn. Oh, it should be this week Thursday. Wow. I should make that appointment and go. This month flew by fast. Anyways, so I am making it a point every month to go downtown and sit in a cafe and do some cafe drawing, which is exactly what this is. Um, this was all my gesture homework, all of that stuff. Yeah, there's no more there, just some more drawing. But I can't do that all the time, I can only do that sometimes. And I'm going to also start taking a life drawing class on that day as well, which, shit, I might as well do that tomorrow then, I guess. Wow, alright, I'm going to have to make some plans. So, anyways, so in order for me to keep up with my homework and to take my classes regularly, I'm using Croquis Cafe. They're life drawing models. They're live, so there's some motion to them. They're not just static images, and they shift and change poses quite a bit. So they're perfect for this kind of exercise, and it's super high resolution video, so it's as good as you can get without actually going out, And I'm a person who, in the past, this doing life drawing, like in-person life drawing, was a part of my everyday life for about 6 years. I was even a life drawing model myself for a year. So I have had the experience of viewing the figure in real life. I also draw all the time whenever I'm out and about. So I do draw people and I do draw things from reality often, So my point being, not to make an excuse, but that what one would gain from that, I'm not necessarily lacking. It would still be more beneficial than something like this, but I think even if I get out once a month to do something like that in a longer stint of time, that's essentially refueling a tank that isn't quite running on empty. Does that make sense? I think for a younger artist or an inexperienced artist who has never drawn from life, then yeah, I would suggest take a year or two even and stop drawing from the computer, stop drawing from 2D images, and just really focus on drawing from life so that you can get a better idea of form and depth and all of that kind of stuff. Anyways, now I'm giving a lecture. Didn't intend to do that. So, anyways, and of course, it's all subjective. It depends on the kind of art that you're trying to make, of course. If you want to learn how to do more realistic stuff, or if you subscribe to the philosophy that by learning more about realism, you can also do more with abstraction and stylization, then you would agree. If not, that's fine. Do what you will. So, back to the homework, again with shape. This time it was very interesting, actually, doing some of this stuff. It was a very weird approach. This is something that I've never done before, is the shape stuff. But having done it, I feel like I've learned something new. And it's pretty exciting. I've been using this shape stuff a lot. When I'm doing gesture studies now, and even when I'm developing my own compositions, which I'll show you in a moment. So now I'm on silhouette, and once I started silhouette, which was on the 21st, that's when life really just started getting hectic, and we've had all this stuff going on with our are leaking walls and the maintenance and having to get the stop motion out of here ASAP. That's really what sort of has started to trip me up. So I didn't actually finish the lesson yet. That's where I left off there. So that's it for school stuff so far. Okay. Put that aside here. Let's take a look at the sketchbook real quick, because there's some other stuff that's been going on in here that has to do with some of my schooling and some of my studies that I've been doing. Let's get on in here. So, all right. While I've been gone, okay. So this was Julie Jupiter, right? We left off there. I had a really weird period here, just trying to get back into art. This was a bad day. Back up a little bit. Okay. So I started doing these mouth studies, okay, from Greg Capullo, because I love the way he does expressions. I love the way he does mouths and noses, and I love the way he does a lot of things, okay. And I wanted to learn, and so this is something that was recommended to me by other people who are better at this stuff than I am. And I've never copied art before. I mean, I say that a little hesitantly because I know there have been times, but the amount of times that I copied art as I was growing up, as I was developing as a very young artist, I can count those times on my fingers, and I would probably still have some left over because I was one of those people who, like I said, I excelled very early with art. I began to intuit a lot of things, and because of that, I was very comfortable making things up from my imagination that were somewhat structurally sound and convincing without needing to copy anything else. Now, what I mean by that is copying line by line by line. Obviously, the ideas themselves were probably derivative of other things that I was experiencing at the time, but I was not the kind of kid to, for example, plop this book down, have a piece of paper here, and try to draw what's here. I did that maybe 5 times that I can barely recall, okay? I'm not saying this to boast, I'm just laying down the facts to help you understand where I'm at now and why this is so exciting for me. So, I'm starting to do that more, and I feel like my art's getting better because of it. This is something that I've heard mentioned time and time again, even by the greats, even by Capullo himself. He says, early on, just copy from everything that you love. Just be a copy machine. Copy, 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 copy. Then, don't ever copy again, and just develop your own style. Now, since I missed this portion of my study and my artistic journey, I'm adding it in now. I'm taking some time to copy, copy, copy so that I can absorb some of that stuff that I feel I've been missing. Because I've definitely got my own style, but it's not coming from anywhere. It's not coming from anywhere that I can recognize, I need to be able to recognize it so that I know when I'm hitting it and when I'm not, So anyways, I've been doing some mouth studies, and it was a lot of fun. I think I'm going to do them again. I learned a lot that I've been applying, and I don't think it's making my mouths look like Capullo's, and that's totally fine, but it's helping me construct my mouths better. So I did a bunch of them. I did 50, all in my sketchbook, all from Spawn and Batman. I didn't do any from X-Force because I didn't have any X-Force or X-Factor. I think it was X-Factor. I can't remember if it was X-Force or X-Factor that he worked on. But I felt like by the time he got to Spawn, and especially now that he's doing Batman, there's an evolution here that's there's a lot of great stuff going on in here that I wanted to capture and I wanted to learn, especially his female mouths and angry mouths and close-ups. He does a lot of close-ups of mouths. So anyways, yeah, I did 50 mouths. And then I took notes on exactly what I learned from the experience. Okay. Just some random drawings. This was advice from Richard Friend. Not personal advice, but he does a bunch of videos on YouTube, and I love listening to that guy. He's got that real talk, but he's not an asshole about it, and he can give that real talk because the guy's been working in the industry for years. I grew up reading books that he had done. he actually did some inks on some of the Batman stuff for the New 52. He's inked over David Finch. I mean, that kind of guy can give you real talk. I can take real talk from someone like that, and he's so nice. He breaks it to you how it is, but he makes it feel like it's possible, you know? Like he says, like, it's easy. All you got to do is draw every day. You know, most people would be like, you know, it's not as easy as you think. You have to draw every day. And they say it like that, as if like, you don't know. You can't do this yet. And until you can, you're never going to be like me, you know? But he puts it to you in a way that's like a complete 180 from that. He's like, hey man, if you want to be a professional, it's easy. All you have to do is draw every day. To me, that makes a world of difference, you know, because it is. If you really think about it, it is. He's just laid out the blueprint for you. You know, if you want to draw comics at a professional level, I'm talking like at the kind of level that he's at, right? If you want to work for Marvel or DC or, you know, any of the big companies, well then you got to do an 11 by 17 of art a day. At least an 11 by 17 pinup, if not a page of pencils of sequential art, you know. You have to do that every day. If you can do that every day, then you've got it. That's it. That's the recipe. You got to work up to being able to do that. Easy, right? That's easy. It's not like you got to learn to do a backflip and you got to learn to do this and you got to learn to do that. You got to learn to consolidate all of that to equal doing an 11 by 17 a day. And then you're in. That's it. You will probably get work if you could do that consistently, because consistency is worth more than quality. Not that you shouldn't practice and that you shouldn't get, you know, as good as you could possibly get, but if you can churn out that kind of content that often, you will probably get work. According to Richard Friend, that's what he says. I like that. I like that. It feels like an achievable goal instead of like this locked gate that only few can enter. You know, that's discouraging. That can get you down. Anyways, so yeah, so I took notes from what he was saying and kind of wrote a little letter to myself about how to apply some of that and how to get to work and get better. You know, draw more. So yeah, more gesture studies and all that kind of stuff. I've been taking my sketchbook with me everywhere, which is great because I used to and I stopped for some reason and now I am again. So I feel like I'm back to myself, which is a good thing. That's a good feeling. Got a pretty cool penguin here. Really like how that turned out. That was loosely based off of one of the gestures I was doing for homework. And then I just zoned out. I was just doing so much homework for so long. I had to do something cool, and I just let myself go. And luckily, it was the last gesture of that session too, so I could afford to just keep going. Started doing a Riddler. I wasn't happy with it though. I think it's a solid drawing. There's some issues with the perspective a little bit, and again, that comes from, you know, I'm doing it loose. I didn't measure any of this, and sometimes if you add a little arc in your wrist, well then you've thrown off that line. You've thrown off that hard line that should line everything up properly. But I digress, whatever. Point being, I think even composition-wise, something could have been more dynamic. Something about this feels stiff. It feels like I would have drawn something like this in high school. That's not where I need to be. I need to do something way better than this. So, but anyways, it's Riddler. It's just bothered me, and I really need to go back and redo this whole concept again, but in a better image. Yeah, so in addition to those Batman studies and stuff that I showed you, I've also been doing my own studies, reading comics, and as I'm reading the comics, when I come across poses, gestures that I like, I draw them. It's making reading take a very long time, but I think it's a good thing, and that way I'm absorbing the things that I like from these comics instead of just experiencing them and moving on. Because again, I will say once again, I never did this. I still excelled at art despite not having done it, but I never did it. Now's my time to do it. And it's fun, and I'm enjoying it, and I think I'm getting a lot out of it, and I'm hoping that it is filling in the gaps for me. I think it is. I think slowly but surely it is. and if even if it isn't, it's so fun. It's just so fun. There's something very rewarding about being able to draw the things that I see on the page. I think if I would have done this earlier, I would have gotten frustrated because I wouldn't have been able to draw them. But doing so much life drawing and stuff and gesture drawing throughout my life, like actually capturing the poses and the likenesses and stuff like that is, I don't want to say it's easy, but it is. It's pretty easy. It takes some time, and obviously it takes some effort and some thought and some care, but you know, still managed to do it, and it's just a blast. I did this on a mini vacation with Mel and her family. We went up to visit her grandfather for Father's Day, and we surprised him. That was awesome. And we also went into this natural cave with her mom and her brother, which was a lot of fun. And we ate at an Applebee's that night, and so I don't know why I just couldn't stop laughing thinking about the Apple Beast. And I don't know. It was just a cute, stupid little thing, and I had to draw it. So there's the Apple Beast. Stealing the apples. I couldn't sleep because our schedule was all kinds of screwed up. We were waking up really early in the morning, and I hate waking up early in the morning. So I couldn't sleep at all. So I stayed up late at night, and I would draw in the bathroom and do some of my studies and things like that. So this is like a self-portrait type thing. This is a sluice. This was at the cave. You could buy buckets and bags of sand that had gemstones and rocks and stuff in them, and you would use this sluice to sift away the sand with running water. It was like a waterfall stacked on top of all these things, just boom, 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 and it would flow into this like trough-looking kind of thing. And then you had these, I think they're called sluice boxes. They were chained to the thing, made out of wood with like a screen in them, and then that would allow the water to rush through them and carry the sand through the screen and leave the rocks behind. So it was totally like for kids. You definitely got that impression. At least there was tons of kids around doing it, and you know that they sorted out those bags and put everything in ahead of time. But you know, it's kind of fun, and her brother is super into it, and so we did a few bags with him. He did like 5 gallons of sand or something. It's like one of his favorite things to do. So it was cool because you know. It was just cool to enjoy something that he enjoyed, you know, and to try it out and see what it was all about. It was kind of fun. So yeah, more Joker studies. I think I already showed you these. These were more from like my head studies stage, drawn heads. More from the comics. More stuff from Days of Future Past. Tons of Nightcrawler in that story. Finally got to some Wolverine and some Colossus though, so that was cool. Joker portrait, trying to do something super realistic. I like it. I want to ink it, but we'll see if I get around to that. If not, like I said, pencils, pencils, pencils. I'm a penciler and I'm an inker second. So if I have the time, if I have extra time, I will ink. If I don't have extra time, I'm not inking. I got a pencil. I got a pencil. More and more and more and more and more. Got to draw. Got to draw. Got to draw. Anyways, I had a moment there. I got lost. So this is a whole sketchbook to figure out what I was going to do for this Ghost in the Shell piece that I'm working on. I was just drawing some of the characters while we were watching the movie one night, just for fun. This had nothing to do with the piece at that point. And then I really liked Bateau's jacket. I'd never really paid attention to it as much before, so then I was kind of like drawing it out and seeing like how you would actually make that work. And her visor is kind of crazy, so seeing how that would work. And Ghost in the Shell is my favorite anime of all time, and I'm not a huge anime fan. I got to say that off the bat. Nothing wrong with that. I don't care if you like it or not. That's fine. To each his own. Nothing against it. Just for my own personal taste, I don't like much, but I love Ghost in the Shell. Appleseed too. Appleseed's another one by the same writer. Not the movies, but the comics or the manga were by the same writer. Anyways, at least I think. I could be wrong, and it could be the director. Doesn't matter. Either way, I wanted to do a drawing. I've been doing these daily drawings, and I did a Spider-Man, which let me adjust the camera real quick so you can see that. Go up here. There he is. So I did that Spider-Man, which is based on, ooh, we'll do the big reveal. Actually, I'm not going to do the big reveal now. No one is guessing this. I posted on my Patreon, and no one's bothering to comment anymore. I don't know what's going on there, but I thought this would be more fun than it's turning out to be. But if you can guess where that's from, then I don't know. I'm trying to think of something special. Basically, Spider-Man here is wearing a magic poncho that allows him to fly. Okay, and in this story, and I didn't make this up, this is from a comic. In this story, he goes into an alternate dimension, essentially, or another world. I think it's a gateway to another world, and fights a flying giant cockroach that shapeshifts into a bunch of crap, eventually turning into a dragon, and he has to fend off the flames of the dragon with his web shield. There's a flying boat that's alive, and there's a crazy girl with a cowboy hat. Those are your clues. And the last clue is that it's drawn by one of the greatest comic artists of all time. Objectively. This is not a subjective matter. Objectively, one of the greatest artists of all time. But one of the most surprising to have drawn a Spider-Man story. Why? Why would he draw a Spider-Man story? Well, it's because of the content of the story, as you will find when all is revealed. So, anyways, if you can guess that, then I don't know. There might be some kind of treat in store. I haven't figured it out yet, but I feel like there should be because this thing is so obscure that Google isn't even going to help you. One of my friends actually told me that he was digging through the Spider-Man database on the actual Spider-Man website, and he couldn't find it there either. It's there though. It's there. I've found information on it in there, but you got to know what to look for. Such an obscure story. Such an obscure story. So, anyways, that's that. So I'm starting this thing where I want to do an 8.5 by 11 every day. Okay. It hasn't worked out that way yet because as soon as I did that 8.5 by 11, like I said, maintenance with the leaky roof, the stop motion, having to get that out of here, and I have to also be keeping up with all of my warm-ups and all of my other obligations in the day that I've committed to. So I've been running out of time. I've been sticking to the other obligations, but I've been running out of time for this extra thing that I'm trying to add on. So, however, okay, I'm still trying. I'm not gonna get discouraged about that kind of stuff. I feel like I used to, and it doesn't do you any good. Eventually you get back on the horse and try again anyway, so why waste the time? Just oh well, couldn't do it today, let's try again tomorrow, you know? I think that's a better approach. Don't beat yourself up over stuff like that. Just get back on the horse, you know? So I wanted to do a Ghost in the Shell piece. So this is like a whole page of me trying to figure out exactly what I want to do. I was trying some things that didn't turn out so good, like this pose. I thought that pose would be really cool. I still think the pose could be really cool, but it's more Aeon Flux than it is Major Kusanagi. So I abandoned it, and I couldn't get it to work anyways. So then I went to this, which I liked a lot more. I felt like I was starting to get somewhere. Again, with the shape, I was going for a triangle-shaped composition. And then I finally nailed what I wanted for Bateau. I felt like I nailed Major Kusanagi. I liked that pose, and I felt like his pose was lacking. So I finally nailed that. This was close to the final concept right there. Sorry, it's very hard to position this properly. Okay, so over the course of the last day, so that was yesterday, I've kind of lost track of time. I did the roughs one day, and then now I just did the type pencils last night. I didn't have as much time yesterday as I wanted, but I did go through and finish the pencils. So here is if I want to actually finish something and I want it to be good, here is kind of like my process, I guess you could say. Okay, so these are digital roughs, all right, that I've printed out. I need blue ink. I'm completely out of color ink, so I had to print it out in black and white. Once I printed it out, I was able to see it a little differently, and I got some feedback too that really helped. And I started fixing things with a red pen. So I was just like making notes, lower his arm a little bit, tightened up the folds in this area, tightened up the collar, changed the shape of his jacket and the design and how it's supposed to be. When I did the roughs, I didn't look at any reference. That's kind of part of my deal for these 8.5 by 11s is I don't want to look at any reference because I'm trying to test my imagination. I'm trying to strengthen my ability to draw out of my imagination. That's my forte. That's my thing. I normally always draw out of imagination, but because I'm doing so much study where I have to copy stuff, where I'm doing gesture drawing or life drawing, or I'm copying out of the books and stuff, it's critical that I draw out of my head, so that I don't, so those muscles don't weaken. You know what I mean? So no reference for the Spider-Man whatsoever. I just did him up and finished him. For this, however, though, after I did the roughs, I looked up some reference for the jacket because the jacket just didn't seem to make sense to me. So I actually found somebody made his jacket like as a cosplay. They did a great job, and so I touched that up. So long-winded explanation. I also fixed his leg because I got some feedback about the leg. I made sure that this was more flat down here so that it was obvious that she was sitting, and that her butt cheek was plopped down, soft form on a hard surface, fixed the feet a little bit, just some touch-ups, just some general touch-ups. And this wasn't very detailed to begin with. It might look like it is, but there's not like, it's not very crisp detail, not by any stretch. It's all very just more abstract and suggestive than it is actually specific and filled out, detailed. So then I still felt like something was off with him, so I did this overlay and I redrew him completely. You know, all of his anatomy, everything, to try to figure it out. And it turns out at some point I lost track of the anatomy. Once I introduced the jacket and got more concerned about the jacket than anything else, I lost track of the anatomy. I put his butt way lower than it needed to be, and because of that, it made his legs able to bend more than they should have been able to bend, and it just threw the whole thing off. So when I did this, you'll notice, like, look, his foot's there now, and that leg is so much straighter that just can't happen like that. And so I was able to push that leg back more, got a bit of more of an arch in his back, more of an arch in this arm, and actually dropped that down more too. Better shape in this arm, just all kinds of corrections, right? So then from that, I light boxed that along with this. I'm not going to pull the light box out now because that's a royal pain. And came up with this, and these are my final pencils. I'm gonna take this off of here now. Actually, I didn't even think about that. We could get mobile. Look at that, we're moving. So let me back this up. There we go. Hopefully you could see a little better. How close can we get? How close can we get? Because I'm using a 4H Staedtler pencil. Okay. It's very, very light lead, easy to erase. As long as you understand that it's a light lead and don't try to grind it in to get darker lines, then it's easy to erase. So yeah, I really tightened up a lot of the electronics on the legs and arms and all of that. Tighten up the hair a little bit. I'm not great with hair. I don't hate my hair, but I'm not great with it and could really use to get better with it. There's Bateau. I really like that. One of my friends was saying that the the idea of him having his back was kind of like boring, and I disagree. There's something exciting about it, I think. It kind of plays into this cool attitude of the both of them, you know? Like, I agree it could be better, but I think this works. Like, if he were in more of like an action pose or something like that, sure. But I like it, and I think the back of his jacket is actually kind of interesting. I also need to add some more language to this with light and shadow. I think might help express this idea even better. So yeah, went in and got a lot more detail in all the stuff on her back. I have a few more wires that I still need to do, but they're tricky, and I stayed up as late as I could possibly stay up to get them right. Because you want a mass of coils and stuff all over the place, but you don't want them, you still want to know where they're going and where they're coming from. You want to be able to follow the trail. Um, at least that's how I feel with stuff like that. It works if you don't draw it like that, but I really appreciate art where I can follow the trail, where it's apparent that the artist has accounted for all of these things. Like the overlap here, you know, being able to tell that this is weaving through, you know, is behind that one and in front of that one and in front of that one. That this one is in front of that one and that one, but then goes behind that one, and you know, it just adds more depth. So a little ways to go still. I think I'm about 80% done, and the rest of that 80% is going to be just tightening up a little bit on his pants. Um, and then finishing the wires down here, and then I think my pencils are good to go for that. So sorry for the motion sickness. So, oh wow, you can see over there. Ah, there's a little man. Hello everybody, I have fallen and I can't get up. Um, I'm so weird. Alright, we'll move it over here. Okay, so this is where I'm at now. Alright, I want to finish this Ghost in the Shell piece today. I don't know if I'm going to ink it today, though. I just don't know. I don't know how I'm going to feel later. And if I'm trying to catch up with myself, then if I'm going to ink it all, I should ink that thing over there. But these pieces, the 8.5 by 11s, are supposed to be special. Those are supposed to be drawings that I do take from beginning to end. So no matter what, I have to ink this. I don't know. Decisions, right? So that's where I'm at now. I guess we'll call this part 2 of the video hiatus update. I know I didn't talk much about the stop motion this time. I'll get around to that. Believe me, I will. There's a lot to say about it. Even just to understand the situation, which, you know, I guess it's not that important, but everybody's been following me long enough to know, you know, that there's a lot of stuff about that situation that was hindering me from doing what I wanted to do for a while, and now it's not, sort of. I still have to sell this set, and the set is still sitting in storage right now, and nobody's biting on wanting to buy it. I had one person that wanted to buy it. They don't want to buy it anymore, and that really, I mean, it's their decision. It's fine. It's whatever. I don't hold anything against them. I wouldn't buy it. Not to say that it's not worth buying, but you have to be in a very specific situation to even want something like that, let alone to be able to afford something like that. So that's kind of where that's at. But I'm not going to get started on that now because it's a long conversation and that kind of deserves its own video, I guess. So I'm going to leave this for now. I've really enjoyed talking to all of you again and doing something like this. I'm glad that I have been able to catch you up on all the art stuff that I've been doing. It's not everything, but that's enough. That's everything that I've done in since Oh wow, yeah, since late May or mid-May. Yeah, so like May 17th. That's everything from May 17th up until now, which is June 28th. So roughly a month, little close to a month and a half worth of work and studies and stuff. Um, yeah, and I'll keep filling you in on more with more videos to come. Okay, we'll just leave it at that now. Not gonna get into a big thing like I did last time. I'm not used to doing the videos, so I don't know how to end things anymore. So the last thing that I'll say is, definitely check out my Patreon. It's at its very, very, very early stages right now, and I still have a lot more to do with it. I still don't know entirely what I want to do with it or how I'm going to do it, but I'm doing my best to find time, to make time, I should say, to upload everything that I've just shared, as well as everything from 2015, 2016, and any art that I've created this year. I'm trying to upload all of that into an online blog that I'm treating as like a sketchbook. And that sketchbook has stuff going all the way back to 2004. I mean, it really, I have tracked my progress over the years extensively. There's gaps because there was plenty of times where I wasn't doing a whole lot of work because I had to do other work. But it's a really cool thing, and it's something that I don't see a whole lot of artists doing because it includes even the bad stuff. There's a lot of bad stuff, but yeah. So if you contribute, I think it's at like the $3 tier. I'm not sure exactly where that's at now, but if you contribute at one of the levels, you get access to the sketchbook, which will get updated. Hopefully, I want to get to a point where I update it as soon as I finish stuff. So maybe like weekly, I just do a big image dump on there of all the art from the week. So it's like a virtual sketchbook. I'm also going to work on trying to put together PDF digital sketchbooks as well, to give out to all of my patrons, maybe monthly, maybe quarterly. I don't know. We'll have to see. What else? In addition to that, I'm trying to post these videos there first. Right now, though, it doesn't seem like anyone cares. So, I mean, I just don't know. It could be me. It could be because I haven't been as active as I'd like to be. So people don't check it as regularly as I hope that they would. But the idea was to release videos up to a week early. And I did that with the last video. I might do that with this video too, so this will be on Patreon first, and then it'll be on YouTube later. I think for now I'm not going to do a week delay because I don't think anyone's watching them on Patreon right now, for one. And for two, there's a lot of people that maybe aren't on my Patreon but are, awesome all the same, who've supported me here on YouTube. And I owe all of you an explanation as to where I've been and what I've been up to. So I wanna catch everybody up as soon as possible so that I could get on with this next phase and not have to explain anything. So I might like release this on Patreon today, and then I'll release this on YouTube over the weekend or maybe Monday or something like that. So not quite a week. Also on Patreon, I am trying to work up to a point where I can make at least $30 a month. And if we can get there, if we can get to $30 a month, then I'll start doing raffles for my 8.5 by 11 drawings. I'm hoping to get to a point where I have a lot of them. So, I want to do one a day. So they're not like, I mean, here I'm gonna like bash myself now. I shouldn't do that. They're not like the most polished things. Not all of them. This Ghost in the Shell one is probably an exception because I'm taking a lot of time on it. But they're supposed to be done quickly. The Spider-Man was done. It took me, I want to say 30 minutes to do the pencils, and it took me about an hour, maybe an hour and a half to do the inks. So about 2 hours, maybe longer. I could be wrong. no more than 3 hours. They're very quick kind of pieces. They're meant to be warm ups. They're not even meant to take 3 hours. I'm pretty sure the Spider-Man took two. But they're penciled and inked. You know, they're something that maybe you would do at like a convention. They're on 8.5 by 11 printer paper. You know, I'm probably going to be selling them at some point as well too. So I mean, there's a value in that. You'll be getting something for free just from contributing. You know, the price that I would sell them at is definitely more than you would pay a month to for a chance to win one of those. Whoa, hey. That was my alarm for my warm-ups. So I've taken up all my time for my warm-ups, which is okay. I have nothing to do today other than to draw, and I'm intentionally spending this whole day on drawing and catching up with stuff because I haven't had a day like that in a while. So, anyways, I'll sum it up like this. Basically, join the Patreon if you want. It really helps me out. Like honestly, I can't even express how much it helps me out. I think at uh, the current base of patrons that I have right now, I've been making about $18 a month, roughly, more or less, and I cannot explain how much that has helped me. It's taken me, a few months to save up, but it's allowed me to buy pencils. It's allowed me to buy pens. It's allowed me to buy this eraser, this exact eraser that I'm using right now is because of my patrons. I can't thank you enough. It means so much. These might seem like little things, but I don't have a whole lot of disposable income, and especially right now, having quit the stop motion and having it, it turned out okay, but I still got the short end of the stick on it. I did not get paid back for any of that time that I spent. I did not get paid back for the materials on the set. I've lost a lot of money over the years, and I am really appreciative of the people who've been supporting me because it really has been allowing me to get these little things like pencils instead of using the stubs that I had, to get this eraser instead of using the teeny tiny little chunk of the art gum eraser that I had. It's helping is what I'm saying. This is a signal that it's time to stop. My phone is ringing. My alarm is going off. Anyways, thank you so much to all of you. It really means a lot, and every little bit is helping more than you realize, I think. So if you like what I do, please consider hopping on over there. And I'm doing my best to try to gauge what everyone wants, and have it align with what I'm able to do. And it should be good. I hope at some point that I can use Patreon as like my main platform for everything. So, alright, that's it. As usual, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. I hope you're all drawing and working on your comics and working on your own art studies and all that kind of stuff. And I will be back at some point with another video. I'm not promising any schedules anymore. No schedules, anybody. No schedules at all. These are just going to pop up when they pop up, and that'll be a good day for all of us. Go, hey, a new video. Look at that. We weren't expecting that. That's awesome. No expectations are good expectations. That's going to be my motto. I don't know if that makes sense, but it sounds good. No expectations are good expectations. All right. On that note, I'm out. Thank you for tuning in, and goodbye.